This is Dolynny TV, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, and welcome back to another edition of Edmonton Oilers discussion here on the channel. See, I can't lean on that; that gets way too wobbly. The new additions, the new upgrades, everything's all fine, everything's all dandy. Look, you see more of the flag. Life is good, life is gold, my friends. Kailer Yamamoto, that's where we're going today in this video, is the afternoon discussion on kind of what the expectations are for Yamamoto coming into this upcoming season, as well as kind of what his situation plays out to be by the time this season is done. So, the thing is, we know Kailer Yamamoto slots in the top six no matter what going into this season. That's where his point production is. That's where his career curve is. That's great. That's gold. That's dandy. But, well, there's a little bit to this that we also find Kailer Yamamoto in his RFA year, right? So he's going into contract talks either during the season or after the season ends. And how much does the expansion draft affect things with Yamamoto? How much does anything that's going on in the world now that could be going on in the world 6 months from now affect Yamamoto? There's a lot of questions. But let's get just a little general ground on where we stand with Kailer Yamamoto, who just so happens to have scored, well, 4 points. 5 points, pardon me, in his first 26 NHL games. In his next 27, he would go on to score 26 points, that being this 1920 calendar year that he came up and played a heck of good hockey since December 31st against the Rangers. 11 goals, 15 assists, 26 points, and a plus 17 for the Edmonton Oilers was Kailer Yamamoto. Shot 25%. But you know what? If he can score that many goals on only 44 shots, I'd like to see what Yamamoto can do going and shooting about 192 shots in a season. So the possession metrics, mind you, he was a dead even, basically Corsi 4 player. And of course Fenwick as well, if you pay attention to that, he's 50.2, so nothing to too much write home about. But on ice save percentage, this is the interesting part here. You look at Leon Draisaitl. Why wasn't Draisaitl a big time plus player? Well, the on ice save percentage for when Kailer Yamamoto was on the ice, and I mean he was on the ice with Draisaitl 90% of the time, was 93.3%. I'm sorry, Koskinen finished with a 917 save percentage this year. That's 16 points higher than that when Kailer Yamamoto was on the ice. So the team did not give up goals when Yamamoto was on the ice. He was on the ice for a total of 16 goals against in the season. That's it. That's all. At even strength. That's all. And I mean, he played 27 games. And the Oilers, they allowed quite a few goals. So, yeah, think about that. They were doing just fine. And, of course, on-ice shooting percentage for 13.5. So, the Oilers, they did offense when Kailer Yamamoto was on the ice. The problem being they didn't get much out of him in the playoffs. He kind of disappeared. But, again, Yamo's a playoff rook. But not only that, he's a true rookie in the NHL. Sure, he had 26 games beforehand in the NHL, but that was spanned over 2 years, and he hadn't seen the NHL in a long while. I think almost in over a year since any substantial time in the NHL, in over a year since he got sent down to Bakersfield way back in the 18-19 season. So for Yamamoto, now it's more of a question, can he follow it up? Can he do exactly what he did last year? Probably not. That, I think, would be the common sense answer, that Kailer Yamamoto cannot follow up and have 26 points in 27 games or be just a point below point per game all season long. Well, but there is that argument, right? If you have him on a line with Nugent Hopkins, McDavid, and say, yeah, that's the line, or you have him with Nugent Hopkins, Draisaitl, and him, or if you have him with Cahoon and Draisaitl. See, there's actually, I actually have to think to make up top six combos based on what we have in the top six now. That's impressive. So you actually have options to deploy Kailer Yamamoto instead of just deploying him with Draisaitl and Nuge. Although there really is no reason to break up a line that was absolutely the most incredibly dominant line in the NHL after Christmas. That being Nugent Hopkins, Draisaitl, and Yamamoto. And oh my goodness, sorry kitty. Sorry kitty. Orangey. Oh, Mr. Orange. Ouch, that hurt. That hurt me more than it hurt the cat, I think. Straight up just beamed him across the head with my wrist. But yeah, right? After Christmas, nobody was more dominant than the Oilers' second line. So why would you break that up and risk hurting that production right there? There's a good thing to be said for what they've done there. So, okay. But then again, you put Yamamoto with McDavid and he does what he did, right? 11 goals, 15 assists. Well, you span that over 60 games. Well, okay, all of a sudden that's 22 goals and 30 assists, or 23 goals, 25 goals, whatever you want to be, because he's also playing with Connor McDavid and Nugent Hopkins, or Connor McDavid and Dominic Cahoon. Well, suddenly, yeah, okay, you know what? Bingo, you've got yourself a heck of a player. But that's where we get into problem number 2, is the expansion draft and, of course, the offseason upcoming, with him being an RFA, is how much can you sign Yamamoto for should he start succeeding again next season, right? We've seen point per game Yamamoto. If we see anywhere close to that again next year, we got a problem. We got a problem, because how do you sign this kid, stay under the cap, and get it done? Yes, there's room to do it, but you also need to find some solutions elsewhere in your team, and that's where it gets very, very complicated, right? We started solving the defense. Now, by no means are we done, but if you can get rid of a couple guys, but now again, we're into fantasy land saying if. So that's another question, is kind of how much do you really want Yamamoto to succeed above and beyond where he was last year, or even be where he was last year when it comes to contract negotiations? And that is some kind of complicated issue to have, because we should want our guys to succeed to the best extent of their abilities at all times, and that's what I want. Obviously, I'd love to see Yamamoto go out there and succeed to the best of his abilities, but the fact that we're questioning if that's good for the team at this point, at least I am, that's an intriguing issue to have for the Oilers, in which we have not had quite those kind of issues for a lot of years, and that's fun. That's fun, because now, right, you've got your core 3, you've got Nuge, Draisaitl, McDavid. Now you're looking for that next forward up. You've got, yes, Puljujarvi signed for a couple years, so is Yamamoto that next forward up? By the looks of it, yes, but what about if Dominic Cahoon succeeds and needs to be re-signed? And what about this? What about that? You look at it, and there's all of a sudden a lot you got to do. Yes, James Neal at some point has to be a priority. Right now, the best hope you have is you hope that Seattle takes him. That's all, right? He's went and succeeded with an expansion team before. You just hope Seattle takes James Neal. That would solve a lot of issues for us. So that's one idea. Okay, great. But now, right, like a guy like Zach Kassian getting paid $3.2 million, unless he's producing 6.6 points per game, you're not getting much. 0.6 is what I meant to say, not 6, right? So you're not getting much out of him for that 3.2. You see how we're moving the dice along here and really not finding ourselves any favors, because, right, flat cap. That's what it comes down to, is the flat cap reality. So that's where you almost have to hope that either guys are willing to help you out. And I mean, Kailer Yamamoto needs to cash in at some point, because he's been coming along the Oilers pipeline for some time now. And yes, he deserves a good contract when things come around. But before that, even think before that, what about Ryan Nugent-Hopkins? Oh yeah, crap, we need to take care of that. So there's a lot going on that the Edmonton Oilers need to look at. But at the end of the day, yes, you want Kailer Yamamoto to succeed, and then you want him to help out the team and take a friendly contract, and bing, bang, boom, let's go win a couple of cups, shall we? That's kind of the plan here for the Oilers. So yeah, right? Is it all hinges on kind of the expectations for Yamamoto being a little tempered this year to help with contract issues, but also to not overexert what he could bring to the lineup, right? Is because you don't want to go out there and be putting pressure on him to be a 60-point guy in 60 games and then all of a sudden not get it and ruin a guy after having such success last season. But how does he not have success when the top 6 for the Oilers is set up 10 times better than it was last year. Guys, you let me know in the comments section down below. I'm Tyson, this is Dolynny TV. I will catch you in the next one.